it kind of permeates your book, and you're pretty open about it. So, can you talk a little bit about how that played in your journey? I always kind of drawn to all the passages where you talk about that, from the type of church you want to, that you enjoy going to, the mixture of faith that you received, from that was passed down to you, and what kind of you went to. So anyway, anything you might want to add about that?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, man, listen, I grew up as I say in the book, I grew up in a Christian household. I mean, very atypical. My mom, we never went to church, but my mom was a deeply spiritual woman and would have gatherings and, drinking wine and speaking in tongues and all that jazz. And so I was exposed to all of that, throughout my life. And then in high school, kind of dabbled in youth group, but with youth group and party on the weekends. And, like I think probably a lot of kids in high school do. And then after high school, I really just started to seek God on my own, because I didn't want to just believe stuff because my parents believed it. It didn't make any sense to me. And that, that was when I was 18, I'm nearly 42. So it's been quite a journey walking with God and figuring out who I am and who God is, and how do we commune, and how do I fit into this crazy world and the cosmos and all that, really understanding it all. And I think that, I've always had a really strong portion of faith. Ever since I was a little kid, I got it. I knew, I could feel in my bones, there is a God, and that God loves me, and there's purpose, and and my life can have purpose. And I can, thankfully say that I'm one of probably, when you look at it, like, just from a numbers perspective, very few people get to have a dream when they're 4 and still get to live that dream when they're, 40. And so all of that is incredible to me, and really, really humbles me quite often. But when I was going through this darkness, I really came to the end of my belief in God. I didn't understand why I felt like I had been following God my whole life, and even moving to Austin to go build this United Artists movie studio and take care of people and making sure that artists are taken care of, and, very deeply altruistic things. I thought, oh, God must be behind this. This is what's moving me. I'm going to go do this. And then I felt completely abandoned and alone. And so, and then in all of that, I legitimately was just surrounded by darkness and lies and didn't want to live anymore. And it was really, kind of coming to this, going to this therapy, learning a lot about, let's say, clinically learning a lot from therapists, psychiatrists, life coach, all of these things I talk about in the book. It was all very helpful and instructive. But, one of the things I realized was that, you can learn anything under the sun, but if you don't think you're deserving of applying it to your life, then what's the point? And I did not think I deserved applying it to my life, because I didn't think I was worthy of that love. No matter how much I had preached it throughout my life, that God loves us, and I knew that God loves us, and all of these things, I still did not feel like I was worthy of that love. And I didn't feel that because my parents did not instill that in me, because their parents did not instill it in them, and so on and so forth up this generational trauma line. And so as I was kind of discovering all of that and recognizing that, wow, Jesus wasn't just whistling Dixie. When he's saying to love your enemy and pray for your persecutor, I think he's talking about your parents probably first. A lot of us don't have very healthy relationships with our parents. And some of us have really unhealthy relationship with our parents. Some of us have good relationships with our parents, but they still need improvement. And I think that, with family, that's always kind of the root of so many of our trials and tribulations, first and foremost, before it gets out into the rest of family or society or, nations battling nations. What are you battling in your own home? And my mom was a very amazing, dynamic, beautiful, wonderful, talented person who was very abused as a child, and never dealt with it. So therefore that abuse kept carrying on to us, me and my sisters. And it really messed me up so hard that I thought I had forgiven my mother, because I wasn't actively, let's say, thinking hateful thoughts about my mom, but I hadn't forgiven her because I hadn't fully radically accepted who she was and why she did what she did. And then it happened. And I can't change that. I can't change that my mom was abusive to me, but I can understand why she was abusive to me. And in that, I can radically accept it. And through that, I can radically love her. And that is love. I mean, it's almost redundant because I do think that love is radical in its practice. Love is not what I think a lot of us believe that it is, or we come to believe that it is. It's not some fairy tale. It's not this over romanticized idea of graduated like. It's not just, if I love something, it means I like it even more. No, love is, you might not even like somebody, but you can still love them. You can love them and still have boundaries with them. But it's a matter of acknowledging that there is a human being on the other side of this abuse. Your abuser, as horrible as their actions may be, as even evil as their actions may be, is still a child of God. In my mind, in my heart, that is true. And that is why Jesus kept saying these things. He kept saying to pray for your enemy, or to love your enemy and pray for your persecutor. You know, it's radical. What he was saying was radical then, and it's radical now, but it's only radical because we can't wrap our heads around the idea that people who do bad things are still humans that are deserving of love. And that's ultimately, I think, what I'm trying to get to in the book, is trying to help us to radically accept, forgive, and love those in particularly our families, but starting there, but moving out into, can we also not then radically accept, forgive, and love those who are, in other nations, tribes, faiths, whatever, people that we've been at odds for thousands and thousands of years. And it's all because we continue to carry hate and fear toward one another, as opposed to love with boundaries, Right. So that's a lot of, I think, how my faith has been a part of what this is, or understanding all of that. It really put Jesus's words into a whole nother context when I was understanding that. And that, there is none righteous, not one, there isn't. So anyone who's thinking that somehow you don't also need the same amount of radical acceptance and forgiveness and love, every single one of us, it doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter where we're from. It doesn't matter. Mother Teresa herself could still required people to radically accept, forgive, and love her. And so does the worst person you can think of. And God's up there. I think all this time, God's been just like pulling out his godly ears or hair and being like, can you not just listen to what I'm trying to tell you and love each other? Because if we do, I really believe that all of these problems will go away. All of our problems are all rooted to someone's broken head and broken heart. All of them, all of our wars, all of our murder, rape, theft, our environment, whatever, pick your problem. It's all based in somebody's unhealed trauma, their ego overacting in order to survive. These are really, science has agreed on these things for a really long time. We're not getting the message out as much as we need to. And we're certainly not applying it on a more global level. You know what I mean? Like, if we understand that we apply this to an individual, why don't we also then apply it to a group of individuals, as we should? Right.
Wow. Man, I really appreciate that. I was thinking you should come to my church and give a sermon on it. Yeah. You're
Amen and hallelujah, bro.
Hey, thanks so much. I look forward to connecting with you again, and God bless you. Your book really blessed me, and I think it's going to bless a lot of people.
Thank you. Bless you, man. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.